Dear viewers, welcome to In Conversation with Pilvi Torsti. We are actually today back at school, so if you hear some background noise, it's real. This is an informal chat about important issues that relate to our work at ETF, European Training Foundations, an EU agency that I'm director of. We work in the field of human capital development, mainly in the neighborhood of European Union, but also as a global knowledge hub. And today in Conversation with Pilvi Torsti, we have a very special guest, Biljana Radonjic Ker-Lindsay, Associate Director from, and let me get this right, EBRD. So Biljana, let me start to ask, what is actually EBRD?
Well, first of all, thank you for inviting me, Pilvi. It's a pleasure to be here in Turin and in this vocational school that we are sitting here. EBRD stands for European Bank for Reconstruction and Development. It is a bank which primarily invests in private sector companies, and then of course reconstruction is something that we are now, especially with the recent war on Ukraine, we are doing more of that type of work.
Drawing to your long, extensive experience, could you perhaps share with us some stories, examples where you feel that the work of the European Reconstruction and Development Bank has had an impact, in particular probably in the field of skills development, education and training?
We start from the demand for skills. What skills and competencies our employers need? Our clients are some of the biggest employers in countries of operations, from the energy sector to agribusiness, to financial institutions, to property and tourism. And we engage with our clients and talk to them about their business challenges that are related to human capital. Are there the skills that you are missing? Do you have workforce diversity that you worry about? We often invest in very male-dominated sectors. And do you feel that this is something you want to make a commitment, something tangible to do? And when we have that, then we help our clients develop appropriate intervention, whether that is a training course in-house, or what we prefer, partnership with a local TVET school, such as the one we are here, or university, where our clients will develop work-based learning, dual learning, training programs on the skills that are market relevant, that they need, that other companies in their sector also need. So we like to bring together private sector, public sector, training providers, and create programs that are actually needed by the employers. But we do help our clients really find answers to their problems of today and tomorrow.
If we now look at the current situation where we are at, we had the pandemic, we have wars in different parts of the globe. Of course, the one in Europe has touched us very deeply here at ETF and influences our work. How do you see it from the perspective of the European Reconstruction and Development Bank? How much have these sort of relatively recent geopolitical changes influenced your work, and will they influence partnerships like ours, for instance, in your view?
A few years ago, we were looking at economic inclusion and gender equality as sort of more static concepts. So you were born a certain way, you live in part of the world, you have or don't have a disability, and we try to find a way of including in the economy and providing equal opportunities to different groups in society. But over the years, and with COVID, with wars, with climate change, we realized that life is not static, that life happens. We have supported our clients and our policy partners. They needed help to look at their workforce strategically and to understand where the gaps are and how can they address those gaps. And we help them with that, with their strategic workforce management, with training, reskilling, upskilling, trying to keep the company working, keep the economy going.
So in a way, the disruptions and geopolitical changes have also forced the bank to become very agile in its approaches.
Yes, the disruptions, the wars, climate change have forced us to rethink how we approach development, sustainable development, how we approach human capital development. And we realize it's not just about brick and mortar. It's the human capital is the first line of defense in this uncertain, turbulent world, where we need to find a way of preparing the workforce for the challenges that are coming our way faster and faster, as it seems.
Biljana, in this conversation with Pilvi Torsti, we've also tried to look a little bit to the personality who is talking with us as an expert, thinking that we have as our viewers young men and women in different parts of the world, thinking also about their own future. So you were born in a country that no longer is, was called Yugoslavia. You've lived long in London, you currently live in Cyprus. With this perspective, are there some key moments, key decisions, educationally or reskilling in your own life that you would like to share with our viewers?
I work in gender equality and economic inclusion space, and I look at people from migrant backgrounds, people with disability, and so on. And I think that in my own life, I have had experiences of a lot of the different groups that I'm actually working on. So my family moved from Bosnia to Vojvodina, where I was born, and they were economic migrants. So I remember as a child growing up and feeling that my parents spoke a different dialect. I know a lot of migrants around the world have experiences of much more difficult discrimination, but that feeling of being the other is something that I kind of experienced. My father was a single father. My mom passed away very young, so he was basically a single parent household trying to bring up two children. So these are the challenges that a lot of people that we are trying to help are also having. I have a child with disability, so I can also relate with parents and people who are trying to have education, enter the workforce with disabilities. So I think that I find this job very personal, if you wish. It is very much what I work on. It is very much part of me and who I am. I never knew what future will bring for me when I was a young girl growing up in Yugoslavia, when Yugoslavia was still an egalitarian society in the 70s that I remember. In each of our lives, we have our transitions, our little transitions and our changes and upheavals that we don't expect. So when you think about it as a child, you really don't know what, and you never knew what life is going to bring, what's future for you, where you're going to live, what you're going to do. And now, of course, with changes, with future of work, you don't know what jobs will exist, what jobs will not, and how do you adapt to the million-dollar question? How do we future-proof our skills and our competencies to the life? I don't think it's possible. I think we have to be flexible and agile and adapt to whatever life throws at us and find a way of upgrading our skills, changing what we do, find a way to address whatever challenges we have. And I think I don't know, that is at least what my experience has been.
Well, your experience is clearly also that having personal part of your professional is a strength, because I sometimes think young people are a bit worried about that. Can they follow somehow a little bit call of their heart and what feels important to them? And I think that's an important message in itself. And I must share that much that in 30 years ago, absolutely by chance, I ended up spending 2 years in high school just next to the border of that time already Slovenia and Croatia. And what that meant to me was that it actually brought to my life the history of a refugee and displaced family, which we were in Finland, and it very much colored my working life. So now continuing with this important topic of gender and social inclusions from the professional perspective, from the bank perspective, you were, Biljana, the one who created the first action plan on these issues for the European Reconstruction and Development Bank. Can you share us a little bit what motivated it, what it brought about, what's important in it?
Indeed, I was asked to be in charge of the implementation of the first gender action plan of the EBRD. What struck me is that how few people at the time thought that that was an issue to be focusing on. And there was a lot of resistance. Why are we doing this? Isn't there something more important to do? Women and men are equal in our countries. There is no reason for this. And then when you unpack the statistics, when we see what has happened, when the social safety network has fallen apart, the amount of additional burdens and challenges and barriers that women are having in the societies that we operate, it took a long time to turn people around and to persuade them inside the bank that this is a topic we need to work on. So we already had a Women in Business program. This is a flagship program that EBRD had started. But beyond that, we didn't do anything else. So I looked at what the bank does and realized that in addition to looking at women as part of the marketplace, as owners or managers of businesses that need funding and then have difficulties in obtaining funds to manage their businesses, that we also can look at women in the workplace. And this we never did. We never looked at what are the HR policies and practices of our clients, what are they doing to attract more women, to increase the share of women in the senior management position, in technical positions, what are they doing to promote women, to retain them after maternity leave. So this is the topic that we never worked on. And we started doing HR audits of our clients to understand what they need and how they can be helped. And then, of course, we've always invested in infrastructure, but we haven't been looking very carefully at how the different investments have different impacts on men and women in the community. And going forward, the bank has gone from strength to strength on the gender inclusion. Now we have about over 40% of all our investments have gender components in them. Either gender equality is a primary objective of the investment, or gender equality elements are mainstreamed within the investments that we do. So I'm very proud of what the bank has achieved. This is not all my doing. I had been there at the beginning and then rejoined the team a few years ago, about 5 years ago, and I'm very pleased to be at the forefront now again.
Biljana, to wrap up probably a little bit the conversation, what kind of advice would you have in this field of skills, technology, learning, perhaps in the light that where do you see really the key developments in the coming 10, 20 years? Very shortly, sort of 1, 2, 3 points.
So there are a number of new occupations that are needed in many of our countries, and our education systems do not have those. This is, I think, one area that we need to pay particular attention to. There are still many countries that we operate in that have restrictive labor laws where women are not able to perform certain jobs and occupations. So in several countries in Central Asia, including Kazakhstan, we have worked with our clients and lobbied governments and supported governments to abolish restrictions to women in certain occupations, in all occupations. We need to focus on the future, on young girls and young women that are going through the education system and are not equally represented in STEM's occupations, because these are the occupations of the future. And if we don't do something now, this gap between men and women, digital gap, skills gap, will get even worse going forward. So I think this is the key to reverse the gap that already exists, and definitely make sure that we don't exacerbate it, that we support more women in these future high value added occupations, and in that way have gender balanced, inclusive societies and labor markets going forward.
Biljana, in conversation with Pilvi Torsti, we have one tradition, which is that the previous guest leaves a question for the next guest. And even I haven't seen actually what the previous guest left. So let us see, and I'll ask it from you.
Okay.
We have, in a way, almost a colleague, Asian Development Bank, Sofia Shakil, and her question is, What can an IFI, this means international financial institution, such as an Asian Development Bank, do to strengthen the human development outcomes for the youth?
That's a good question. We can work in closer partnerships with one another. So the partnership between EBRD and ETF is a good case in point. We bring in complementary strengths. From the EBRD or other financial institution side, we have this direct financial relationship, investment relationship with a client, with the government, with private sector client, and we bring in that leverage, if you wish. You have the expertise, the knowledge, years of experience in skills and employment, in labor market development, and together, when we work together, we make a very good team. We can bring in both the funding and the knowledge to help our governments and our clients in the countries of operations to indeed prepare their workforce for the future. Make sure that the right skills for the green economy transition, for digital economy are there. That working together, treating governments in the countries of operations as partners. They know where they want to take their countries, where they know what kind of economy they want to see, and we can help them make sure that they take advantages of the changes in the economy that are coming, and also address potential challenges.
I like this idea that working in partnerships somewhat means that 1 + 1 becomes much more and 2. I would now in turn ask you to put a question. We don't know who is the next guest in conversation with Pilvi Torsti, so that will be a surprise also to me. But we'll take your time, probably somewhere into our field, but it can be also personal, so as you wish.
I will do that. Thank you so much.
While Biljana is writing, dear viewers, let me just conclude this very, I think, interesting conversation we had with the Associate Director, Biljana Radonjic Ker-Lindsay from the European Reconstruction and Development Bank. I think I would take 3 points from this conversation. First one is that if we had the privilege some years ago to work in somewhat, if not static world, but more static subject, it's no longer true. It's really we work in the middle of change, and that will continue. The second, your professionalism can only be strengthened if you can also bring something personal to it. So dare to do it. And perhaps thirdly, the goal really must be socially just and future-proofed approaches to skills training and education, and that's in particularly perhaps complex but also valuable in the work of a bank that mainly works with the private sector actors. So bringing together the thinking and the needs from that side, and then utilizing the expertise of expert organizations to provide for that demand of the future-proof skills for socially just economies. So thank you very much for Biljana.
Thank you very much, Torsti. It was a pleasure talking to you today.
Thank you very much for all viewers. This was In Conversation with Pilvi Torsti from ETF European Training Foundation.